This is Trophy Gold Feast Part 2. It's been a couple of weeks since we played, so let's do just a quick recap. Your characters were all, well, for different reasons, you were all kind of going into this forest, right? Everybody had like kind of a reason why they were sort of going there. Um, David's character, it was very much about like the fact that Osto is infected with some kind of weird fungus, and that fungus was compelling Osto to go there. Um, to some degree, I think for Nevin, it was just following Osto, but also it turns out there's also like a lumber camp as well in this woods, which kind of played out a little bit last time. And then Esfahan, I think you saw something fall from the sky, right? Or something like that, right? So you all find yourselves going to this woods. You know a few things. One, you know that other people have like gone here in recent weeks and days, presumably following some of the same leads that you are. You know that the woods are kind of angry. We think that the woods like slaughtered the I keep saying lumber camp. What is this? What's the lumberjack
The
camp? I don't know.
lumberjacks?
Yeah, the lumberjacks. Yeah,
Sawmill
slaughtered all
or
these lumberjacks. Yeah, and you also encountered a few other kind of like local weirdos and flora and fauna. The really important thing, though, is you got to the heart of this woods where there is this like large sort of stone um, obelisk there. And you started to piece together this idea that somehow the infection was connected to the obelisk. And we never really quite confirmed that was true, but it feels like there's a connection. It seems pretty intuitive. You were attacked by a sort of moldy slime creature, and the obelisk just shattered apart. It was rent apart by some vines. It looks just like that if you look at my background. It tore the obelisk apart and dropped you into this subterranean chamber. And that's where we find ourselves. I do want to check in about your characters and in particular burdens, though, because right now, you all have a fairly high burden number, 5 and 6, either 5 or 6, and you have not acquired loads of treasure yet in this particular adventure so far. There is a chance you may not match your burdens in this little dungeon crawl, and that's okay. As long as you don't go back to town, it's fine. You can just stay out in the wilderness and continue searching for treasure. But be mindful of it. And also be mindful that you can just spend your hunt roll tokens at any time to get treasure. So, but we're here. You have a new set goal. And it is learn how to awaken Palun Avegthi. Type that for you. It does not sound like it's spelled, but I'll say it again for you. Learn how to awaken Palun Avegthi. Do you want to awaken Palun Avegthi? Who knows? But that's the set goal. So you can decide whether you want to try it or not. Let's talk about where you're at. If you look at the map, it's Chamber 1. And the earth here is bone dry. Dirt that seems packed tight just sort of crumbles to the touch. There's a very cloying scent of dry rot. You can see up above you the cracked ground that leads to the surface, but it is not immediately reachable. It dropped you about 20 feet or so. And so maybe with tools, you can maybe like try to figure a way out, but in a hurry, getting out of here may not be super easy. And otherwise, the space is fairly small. There is a little tunnel that is fairly narrow. You'd probably have to crawl. That seems to go somewhere. You have enough light right now from up above, so you don't need a light source yet. And you can kind of still hear that slime slithering around up top. Let's go to Osto. What do you do?
Well, Osto doesn't want to deal anymore with that slime. That thing was real spooky, real dangerous. If he hears it slithering around up there, and just to double check, the room that the chamber, I guess, that we're in right now, is can we pretty much see all of it?
Yes, it's quite small. I would say it's the
Okay.
size of like a large bedroom.
Okay. Then I think he would kind of inspect the path ahead. I think he's kind of now that they've encountered something like that in these woods, and also, of course, the stabby trees. I think he wants to inspect this path and see if he can figure out what lies ahead before they get there. If there's any signs of something.
Hmm. Esfahan, what do you do?
I think Esfahan's first order of business is just patting herself off after this ridiculous tumble. And her next step is going to try to see if the slime creature is approaching from above, slash if there are any roots peeking through the walls of this earth.
Hmm. And Nevin, what about you?
Well, I don't think there's a bear down here, but I am going to look for any evidence that there might be creatures that have like come through this room.
Let's just do some hunt rolls. So Osto, are you doing anything in particular besides just looking, or do you have any kind of tools, or do you have any skills that you're bringing to bear here?
I do have a skill in paths.
Okay, I'll take that. Do 2 dice.
Not amazing.
That's a 3. You encounter something terrible. We'll talk about that in a bit. Esfahan, same thing. You can do a hunt roll.
I have darkness. It may not be completely dark in here, but does it count?
Tell me how it might apply to what you're doing, and then.
So I'm looking around to see, well, is the slime coming from above, which I think is straightforward. But I think the walls of this area would be less lit, so trying to make out anything.
Yeah, I'll take that. Go for it. You get a token, but you encounter something terrible. Go ahead and note your token. I'll tell you what you find, too. You actually can see that the earth along the walls is quite loose. And if you paw at it for a little bit, it crumbles right away. And you actually see that there is a narrow staircase behind the earth wall that goes up. It is an exit out of the dungeon. The problem, the terrible part, is it seems like the slime knows about it, because you can hear kind of shuffling and dripping up above at the top of this staircase, which is not too high, so you can hear pretty well what's going on up there. It probably seeped out of the ground from there. So meanwhile, Nevin, go ahead and make a hunt roll.
I have both beasts and trails, so I feel like one of those must apply.
Yeah, you can go ahead and take 2 dice. You also encounter something terrible. So I think the terrible thing is pretty straightforward here for both of you. It's going to be the same thing. You're looking around. You are checking in this like narrow kind of like tunnel that kind of juts off and goes down a little bit. And Nevin, you're checking around for tracks and things, trying to see if there's anything down here. But the immediate danger does not leave tracks. The immediate danger is roots and vines in the earth. Osto, at first you think that perhaps there's just your pack is just caught on something, your leg is just kind of caught, and you go to like unleash yourself, and you realize that the root is actually tightening around the upper part of your thigh. Nevin, you find yourself at a certain point draped by vines and being sort of cordoned into the wall. Osto, what do you do?
Nevin, do you cry out at all?
I don't think so. I think I'm surprisingly chill about the situation.
I think because Osto like started a few paces down the mouth of the following tunnel, and so as this root or vine wraps itself around his thigh, he does like sort of turn his head back and say, nobody move, but I think the trees have found us. If he doesn't like move or struggle, does it like continue to creep, or does it? I think he's making like a weird assumption that this thing detects motion.
If you just sit there and do nothing, nothing happens.
Okay, so he's just stock still as a statue now.
Okay.
And like sort of like out of the side of his mouth, the roots, and like pointing very gently with one of his fingers towards where it has him.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm like stuck to the wall now, very much aware. I'm just gonna be like, yeah, I know. And I feel like I'm gonna talk to the roots, and I'm just gonna be like, we're not here to hurt you, right? We're like not with those people who were chopping you down, which is pretty rude, admittedly.
Let's do a risk roll. Kavya and David, what could go wrong here?
I think the binding could grow tighter and it could like start to pull Nevin into the earth.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Not super sentient.
Yeah, I was gonna go maybe a little even harder than David and just say that like it starts to like crack your rib cage, right? Like the roots they're almost angry, right? They're not being rational like you want them to be. Let's talk dice. Do you have a relevant skill here?
I'm going to make a case for rebellion because I have previously like rallied a group of people to like leave the employ of someone. And now I may be like kind of turning the trees on other people.
I will take it. It's interesting. I'm going to make you role play it though. That's good. I like it. Let's talk about devil's bargains. Something that will happen no matter what, whether successful or not successful. Who has an offer?
I think no matter what, Nevin will now be like essentially marked by the roots and by the trees, and they're going to watch what you do to see if what you say is true. So they're going to watch what you do the rest of your time here.
I think that's pretty good. I'm going to say no matter what, you actually have to like, maybe not right now, but before this is over, you have to disavow, or you will disavow your past profession.
I don't think I have anything that can top either of those.
Two options. If you want, you can reject them both, of course.
I like them both. They're both good. I think I like the perhaps longer term impact of I have to disavow my profession. What does that mean going forward for my character development? So I'm going to take that one.
Sounds good. You've got 2 light dice, and I think a dark die is automatic because of the inherent danger of the situation. So roll 2 light, 1 dark. That is a 5 dark. You have to stop. What is your current ruin?
Good question.
It is 3. So
3.
your ruin goes up as well. I think the ruin is going up because it's going to work. It succeeds. But I think you have to like talk your way through this. And as you're trying to figure out the arguments that work, every time you say something that the roots don't like, they like tighten and like constrict, right? So I'm gonna give, so that's where your rune's going up. I'm also gonna give you a condition like out of breath. I think they're gonna like literally squeeze the breath out of you.
Oh my god, I have so many conditions.
So let's talk about yeah, I probably should have checked to see if any of them apply to the roll, but that's okay. Go ahead and make your case. What does this look like in the beginning?
Yeah, so I mean, I started exactly like I said. Well, we're not here to hurt you. We're not those like lumberjack folks that were tearing you down. That wasn't nice. And I feel like as I'm delivering it, it's actually almost like I'm realizing that actually it's pretty terrible what we do to these plants, you know. I already have this affinity with other creatures, and now I'm like, wait, what about like the plants? That's not fair either. And so I think I'm actually kind of talking my own thought process out loud as I'm having this realization. And I actually think I'm going to end it by saying that if they let us go, I promise to avenge the violence that was done to them.
Good. Both of you are released by the roots and vines. And you can even hear like a kind of sort of like susurrating, shuffling kind of noise deeper in that tunnel, almost as if like they're even like opening the way to you, right? So, but let's pick up at the scene. You're all there. You've all kind of taken a look around. And I will tell you one thing. There's a leather satchel, which is wedged inside that stairway, Esfahan. Just something to be aware of.
Is it within reach? Like, could I hypothetically pull it?
Yeah, you could definitely grab it. Yeah.
I would.
Inside.
But as I do so,
yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, as I do so, I am going to say, not to alarm anyone, but I think the slime has found us too.
Inside the satchel, it's a collection of tools, hammers, chisels, and files. They are all a little sticky with tacky, half-dried blood.
I'm going to take the opportunity to tell everyone that it's very important we do not harm the trees as we move through this. Because it's not cool, but also I think we might get murdered if we do.
Fortunately, you probably only have to deal with roots down here.
Well, roots are part of trees.
Yeah, well, for sure.
Osto turns a little bit. How do they feel about dirt? If the slime is following us, we may want to close that way.
I think the dirt should be fine. I think. I'm a little unclear. But if they try to murder us again, I'll just apologize.
I'm sure they will be understanding. Osto says, thinking about the camp with the eviscerated bodies.
So, are you all... Oh, sorry, go ahead, Esfan.
No, I was going to say, or instead we could just hurry forward and not risk disrupting the root's rest.
Let us rush and see where that gets us. After all, there are many tunnels here. If we need to collapse one, we can.
if you head down the tunnel, first of all, what's the order? Who's going first?
I mean, Osto's already at the head of the tunnel, so it would make sense for him to go first. Also, I think I have the lowest ruin, so if anyone's going to take a hit, it should be me.
Indeed.
I think Esfahan's bringing up the back so she can pull a ward if necessary.
Okay,
Yeah.
I like it.
Smart.
The tunnel descends, and it goes on for a while. It's going pretty deep into the earth, I would say. Probably like, well, maybe it just seems longer than it actually is because it's slow going. But it's quite inclined or declined. I'm not sure what the right word is. Like it's I think in declined. But you're having to like be careful or you'll plummet down, right? As long as you all have some appropriate tools that can help you like get down safely. I don't require any rolls or anything. So do you all have anything that can kind of help you get down carefully but safely?
I have the tools that are half covered in dried blood that I just picked up that I can wedge into the wall as I descend.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. What about you, Osto and Nevin?
I mean, I have my axe. I feel like I can use that as a tool.
Yeah, to hold yourself up against the wall as you're going down.
And my primary weapon is a hefty cudgel, so I imagine I can use that kind of as like a walking stick of sorts, wedging and supporting as I go down.
Got it. Yeah, good. You get to the end of this tunnel and it actually drops down into the next space. The drop is not that far, probably 7 or 8 feet, but it drops immediately onto what appears to be a let me go here. It's just like jagged shards of flint as long as your forearm, hundreds of them, as far as you can see in the drop, and possibly more in the chamber. The drop is no trouble if not for that. So you're first, Osto. What are you going to do?
In this tunnel, I still have rope, 60 feet of it. Is there anywhere to like tie off to before going into the room?
Yeah, I think that if you're willing to do a risk roll, I will let you do that. You can like tie a rope off and lower. Everybody can lower themselves in if you succeed.
Okay.
Alicia and Kavya, what could go wrong here?
I mean, he has to kind of let go of the cudgel to do the rope. He could just plummet.
Fall. Yeah, I think that's probably the most obvious answer is you just plummet down there. If you have anything to add, Alicia, go for it. But
No, that was pretty much my some manner of falling.
Indeed, the rope is your first light die. Let's do devil's bargains. I'm just going to say you can't get the rope back.
Maybe no matter what, you end up dropping something precious and it will get wrecked.
I think no matter what, you're a miner, right? You see something on the floor that you are compelled to
That's pretty
get.
good. Yeah, an ore or something, right? Yeah.
Oh, that one does sound fun. But I think I just want to lose the rope. I think that makes the most sense.
Go ahead and go 2 light dice, and I think 1 dark die also because you could fall here. So
Ooh.
that is a 5 light. The complication is going to be that the complication is everybody's going to get down safely. No ruin increases or no death, but everyone is going to take condition nicks and cuts because you like just getting down there, you're getting cut up by these like wide, long, jutting shards. And as you're lowering down, you realize that it's on the walls and ceilings too. It's like you are going down into a maw of like flint shards. if you're okay with that, then let it stand. Otherwise, you can add a dark die to go for a 6.
I'm fine with that. Is everyone else okay with taking a little condition for getting through this room?
I'm fine with that, but can you remind me how we get rid of conditions?
You can get rid of them in the fiction just like by doing something that would get rid of
Okay.
them. When you go back to town, you can get rid of them as well. So, but let's have the narration. What does this look like, Osto? You can find a sturdy enough piece of rock.
I I like the idea actually that he ties off to a root. There's like a trust thing happening here, right? Like we've established this cooperation, or at least lack of antagonism with them, and so he'll tie off to the root, and then I think he'll go first because like I think Osto's probably the heaviest, so if it can support him, then it can probably support the others. And as he like starts to descend into the room, just like going through the opening, he gets like a few light cuts from just the jagged walls that are poking into the opening, the aperture into this place. And so like I think he has Nevin or Esfahan, either one, up top, like making sure the rope doesn't chafe against the shards. And they're like ensuring that, and he drops in, and it's kind of like it's like being in a jar full of glass, right? There's like all of these bits and pieces poking out. So he descends in and then looks around for like, is this a dead end? Is there a way to move on? And according to our map, there's a way to move on. So I'm assuming that there is a tunnel of some kind.
Yeah, I will tell you that yes, it's more horizontal as opposed to extremely vertical like this last one.
Then I think he's going to start like swinging a little bit back and forth to build up some momentum. And which of course, like every time he swings back a little bit further, he cuts himself on something new. And then finally, with a mighty swing of his legs, he launches himself, lets go of the rope, and sort of tumbles into the final hallway, and then hollers up that they can follow the same way.
Now that's interesting because you're doing a lot more than I think your roll accounted for.
That's true. I can roll again if you'd like.
Yeah, like getting down is one thing, but I think doing this daredevil swing across the teeth is different. Everyone else is entitled to just lower themselves down based off what Osto has done with a few nicks and scrapes. Osto, if you want to try to launch yourself over to the other side, I'm open to that, but you're gonna have to roll again.
Okay. I think I'd apply my skill of endurance. I think doing this is very taxing.
Yeah, I'll take it
to do this on the rope. So
yeah, I think fail conditions are pretty obvious here. I don't know if we have to discuss them. And let's get the devil's bargains clean and easy. I'm going to say no matter what, you drop something into a particularly tight cluster of these jagged shards. If you accept that, add a second die. Otherwise, no.
Like, is there anything I can stand to lose? Sure, let's do it.
And
2 light, 1 dark.
2 light, 1 dark.
Hey,
6
that's
light.
good.
There you go. Let me see what you drop though.
Oh, I need to remove the rope from my equipment.
I think you drop your holy symbol.
Yeah, I knew you were going to go for that. That's the most interesting. Well, the problem with that is Osto, like, could I just eat a ruin and just plunge my hand in and grab it?
Oh, I mean,
Or
so
like,
I think it would be up to the others to grab it because they'll still be in the room.
okay.
Yeah. But go ahead and describe how you launch yourself across the chamber.
Yeah, Osto swings back and forth, getting extra nicks as he goes, and then throws himself forward, almost like arms splayed, to try to like catch the lip of the following cave. And I think he like misses that and just sort of tumbles face first. And like as his body hits the ground, I think he wears his holy symbol like on a bit of string around his neck. And I think that just snaps and it rolls back and just falls into the room of the broken flint and glass.
Esfahan and Nevin, you can just lower yourselves down, or you can also try to swing across the teeth as you wish. Nevin, what are you going to do?
I am not going to swing. I'm going to lower myself down, and then my plan is to see if I can use the flat sort of top part of my axe to like push the flint away, making a little path to walk.
Oh, I like that. That's pretty good. Esfahan, are you just lowering down?
Yeah, as tempted as I am to do the gymnastics, I know.
Fair enough. Esfahan, I think while you're waiting on Nevin to sort of like clear a path, and indeed this chamber, which is, again, it's about the size of like a large bedroom. This chamber, the ceilings, the walls, and the floor just have these like, it's like you are in like what's the Star Wars thing that Boba Fett gets launched into in the beginning of Return of the Jedi? The
Sarlacc pit.
Sarlacc, yeah, it's like that. It's like just like sharp, like flint all around, right? Like if this thing could move, if it was a throat, it would just squeeze and pierce you dead. So far, there's no indication that's the case. So while Nevin is trying to clear a path, Esfahan, what are you doing?
I think she's just trying to figure out if this place is alive, because this is very, very living.
How are you doing that?
If there's like a spot she can touch the ground without impaling herself, I think she'll like put her fingertips through it to it and kind of close her eyes and try to feel if there's like motion or any thrumming underneath.
I like it. Make a hunt roll. Six. I will tell you two things. This chamber is not alive. There's no danger of it closing up and skewering you. But you can sense that Palunavegthi, who was mentioned to you last time, a character mentioned it as being like a sort of god thing somewhere here. You can sense this entity is near and sleeping, and that it wants to be awake. And there's something else. You feel a little crackle. Assuming you wear like a ring or something, or a bracelet, you feel like a little crackle, like static. What do you do?
I think instinctively she kind of jerks back, but then she puts her hand there again and she's letting the static happen, but she's thinking about the pieces that she has right now, such as the half-bloodied tools in the satchel and the amount of things that you can impale yourself on here in an entity that wants to be awake but is stuck sleeping. And I think she comes to the conclusion that someone has to bleed if to wake them up.
But what about this static that you feel in the air?
Is there any other indicator of something than the static?
You can make another hunt roll. If you have something that can help you determine this, you can add a second die.
Symbols is the closest, but I don't think so.
A piece of equipment might be more helpful.
I've got a mirror. Use it to reflect light.
That's an interesting idea. Light is a good thing to talk about right now too, because we're going to need light sources, especially as you head into the next chamber. Go ahead and make a 2-die hunt roll.
That is a 6.
There is a crackle of energy coming from the chamber that Osto is walking toward. Your mirror catches the reflection of it.
I think she immediately calls out, Osto, stop. Don't. There's something in there.
I think Osto just full stop. I think especially with the issue with the roots earlier, I think he like freezes in place.
Osto, you also will start to feel like static on your arm, as if someone rubbed a cloth over your arm.
If he touches the earth at all, like where he's feeling it gather, like in his hairs, if he like touches that against the wall or against like the earth in some way, does it discharge at all, or does it just build back up immediately?
Make a hunt roll.
Okay. That was a 5.
Take a token. The answer is if you ground yourself, yeah, it goes away. But as soon as you like lift your hand again, you start to feel it again. So yeah. I do owe you something terrible though. There's a voice. Not in the next chamber, but somewhere deeper in this space. You hear someone whistling a tune. Nevin, clearing the path is fine as long as you take time to do it. And you can have cleared it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm just being helpful in this particular scene, just making a little path, you know.
The path is made.
I guess I'll head up to where Osto is and stop also, but
So this chamber that you're in, or this tunnel, it is probably about like 40 feet in length, and you can see that it exits out into another space. At this point, we will need a light source, though. So who has a torch or similar?
I've got candles.
Candle works.
About 6 hours worth.
Candles, if you each have a candle, it's probably best. One candle is a fairly limited view of things, but if you each have your own, it should be okay.
I have exactly 3.
All right, sounds good. Everyone light your candle, and Osto, you're in the lead. What do you do?
I think Osto is going to approach very slowly. I think he's going to like be gently dragging one hand along the wall as he goes to like try to limit how much static he's building up. I think he's really curious at this point, like what is in this next chamber. So I think he's kind of craning his neck as he goes to see if he can see deeper in, maybe even raising his candle to like try to let the light cast down and in a little bit more.
Make 2 dice roll since you're using the candle.
Not wonderful. It's a 3.
A 3. You see, I'll tell you what you see at a glance. As you're looking around, you can see that you can't quite see up to the roof of the place, but you can tell that there are sort of black, slick vines hanging down. And assuming that these vines are subject to the pact that Nevin made closer to the surface, you should be okay. But nevertheless, you do see those. And you also see kind of on the ground, very central in this like chamber, there is a large crack in the earth with a hole that kind of goes down. And there's a sort of slimy black liquid dripping off of the vines down into that hole. Here's the terrible thing. There's a hand sticking up out of the earth. The hand has a ring, and there is wild electrical energy radiating off the hand. And as you get near it, it crackles and lets a bolt of lightning sizzle out and kind of, you can step back in time, but clearly it's sort of like this ring is just like letting electricity go off in the space, shooting lightning bolts. That's the danger here.
Osto wants that ring.
What is your plan for getting it?
So I think I'll need to add an item in my backpack because I need something to. Osto is familiar with metals. He's familiar. I could argue at least a familiarity loosely with how lightning might behave. In that he's lived and around cities for long enough that I'm assuming we know that, you know, if you want to ground a lightning bolt, you want to put something metal up high so it has a path to the ground. So I think he needs something like substantial and metal, and all he has on him in his equipment currently is like his hammer, which might not be big enough, small knife for whittling. I'm gonna sort through the backpack equipment real quick to see if there's anything interesting in there. There's a crowbar, which might work.
Yeah, crowbar could work.
There's also a magnet.
Okay.
I think, I mean, like this is before, or this is in a sort of technological era where I doubt they can mill down to tiny magnets. I'm assuming if it's a magnet, it's probably like pretty substantial, like at least.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
handheld.
Yeah, definitely. So I think he'll pull this magnet out of his bag, and basically as far as he can reach along the wall without like stepping out into this chamber, he's gonna like try to embed it there in the side of the wall, and then step back and see if it's drawing the lightning bolts crackling off of this.
I don't know how electricity works well enough to know if this is supposed to work or not, but we'll do a risk roll and see if it does. You know, it's magic. Who cares?
Oh yeah.
Alicia and Kavya, any thoughts on what could go wrong here?
I mean, to me, the most obvious is that you're going to get electrocuted.
Like he's holding a metal hammer.
Yeah,
It's
I know.
viable.
Like I feel like this is maybe not the best idea, but we'll see. I concur with all those horrible thoughts. You have a die for the crowbar or the magnet. Devil's bargains. Who has an offer here?
I'm not sure how to phrase this, but the hand is alive.
That's pretty good. I'm going to say that no matter what, there's someone lying in wait in the chamber.
I don't have anything for this one. I got nothing.
You got two choices.
I like the idea of someone lying in wait in the chamber. Let's make this more difficult.
I think you have to do a dark die as well. So 2 light, 1 dark.
Hey, that's good. Finally,
What'd you end up getting?
that's a 6 light.
6 light. Very good. Go ahead and describe how you safely get the ring.
Yeah, I think he embeds this large magnet in the wall, just kind of uses his hammer or something, chisels out a bit there. He waits and only moves right after the bolts have fired when he knows that it's already expended what it's built up. And he slowly works that into the wall there, gets that mounted, watches it zap it at least once, and discharge into the earth before he then, like, I think he leaves his hammer up with Esfahan and Nevin. Anything like obviously metal on this person he would leave up there. And then he would just make his way very quickly once that bolt crackles down to where the ring is. And just try to pull it off the finger and take it with him.
You got it. In your gear, it is what is it called? A ring of lightning bolts. Add that to your gear. It's worth 3 gold if you sell it. You can keep it, of course, but it increases your burdens when you get back to town. After you satisfy burdens. Esfand and Nevin, here's the tricky part. While Osto is managing that, someone has crept out of the shadows and they get right behind Osto and they put their knife to Osto's neck. And I don't know if this person is even aware of the two of you, but they have their knife around Osto's neck, and Osto, they say, there. I think that ring belongs to me, since it belonged to my late colleague. I'm pretty sure that's how property rights work in places like this. I, of course, appreciate you getting it for me. Very clever trick, that.
Is their blade touching his neck?
It is. I do want to check in with Nevin and Esfahan, though. Nevin, what do you think?
So my instinct actually would have been, as soon as I saw the man creeping up behind, or the person creeping up behind, would have been to let loose my axe. Like, I would have.
You can do that
been
now.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can do that now. What could go wrong here, everyone?
Person could jerk and cut Osto in the end.
I mean, I think they could just miss, and now this person's aware that Esfahan and Nevin are there.
Yeah, I think, those sound like good options to me. You've got 1 light die. I'll give you the devil's bargain. The devil's bargain is there's a whole crew here.
And that's the only devil's bargain I'm getting.
It's the only one you're getting.
Okay. Can I make an argument for strength for my axe throw?
You've already got your first light die for
okay.
skills and good
Right,
equipment.
yes.
Yeah. So it's just whether you're going to take this devil's bargain or not. There's no dark die for what it's worth.
There's no dark die?
No, because you're not in immediate danger.
Oh, that's true. That's true. But I don't want I don't want to murder someone and then have a whole bunch of people. Fuck it. I'll take it.
Too light. Go for it. Five dark. Complication is just going to be the devil's bargain. Go ahead and describe how you kill this person, though.
Yeah, I think that I excelled at axe throwing competitions, obviously. And now with no trees to chop down, I'm gonna have to chop down people. So I just as soon as I see that this person has come up behind Osto, it's instantaneous, like lightning. Like the hand just goes down and flings perfect aim, dead, right in the back, and it's really wedged in there.
I love it. And Esfahan, you will hear and see the others. There are 3 more. They are saying, "Get them!" And they just run out of the shadows. It's going to be a combat. We'll do that when we get back from our little break. Let's take 5. This combat is not going to be a very difficult one. numbers wise. It's only an endurance 8. The difficulty is that there's a great big hole in the ground. And these 3 attackers, they don't even have weapons drawn. They're not trying to stab you. They're trying to grab you and throw you in the hole. And so if they hit you with 1 hit, nothing happens. You don't take any damage. If they hit you with 2 hits, you can't block it and you go down the hole. You have a chance to avoid being hurt. It becomes a risk roll at that point, but you are going down the hole. And so please say how you were vulnerable and roll a weak point.
Well, my primary weapon is now lodged in the back of one of these
Right,
people.
yeah,
So
exactly. All right, what did you get for weak? A 5. All right, Esfahan, how are you vulnerable?
I think Esfan's vulnerable because she's completely off guard because she's been expecting, supernatural things to deal with, trees, slime, not human beings.
Roll a weak point. 6. Osto.
Osto left his hammer, his cudgel, his knife, everything metal on his person back up at the mouth of the tunnel. So I'd say that's definitely a weak point.
Go for it. Go for it. A 1. It's a combat 3. You need 8. Nevin, go ahead and roll.
just the 1 die?
Oh, you'll do a combat 3.
Oh, combat 3, sorry.
6, 6, and 4. That is enough to defeat them. 2 6s means Esfahan is going down the hole. Let's go ahead and describe how you defeat these attackers before you go down the hole, Esfahan. What does this look like?
I think she only manages to really get one of them, and what happens is she's tussling with them near the hole, and then as she finally does like the killing blow, the momentum kind of pushes both of them down.
Very good. Osto?
I think Osto sees Esfahan go over with the other person, and he cries out and rushes forwards, and one of the other people lays a hand on Osto's shoulder to throw to try to push him after them, and he just grabs their hand, and they you hear the bones crunch because Osto's very upset right now, and he spins around and I think just grabs their face and then just breaks their neck and pushes them in the hole.
Nice. Nevin, finish the last guy off.
Yeah, so I think I actually go running for my axe and then do a cool cinematic, pull it out of the dead body, turn around and slash. And for funsies, I think that person should also fall dead into the hole.
I love it. Esfahan, you're falling down the hole. This is a risk roll to survive the fall. Stakes are very easy here. You go splat or you don't go splat. Do you have any skills or equipment, or are you using the environment in some way to help yourself?
I have grace.
I'm kind of into that, actually. Yeah. I mean, how are you just generally speaking going to try to avoid dying right now?
Are the walls pointy?
They can be, yeah.
God damn it. My initial thing was she's kind of pushing off of the walls to kind of slow her descent.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I'm into that. Are you gonna try to catch something, or are you gonna try to you're just gonna try to wedge yourself between a narrow part? Is that the idea?
So I think she has her daggers out, and what she's doing is kind of how at the incline she was kind of wedging her knife there.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
not the knife,
slow your descent. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm into it. You've got 1 light die. Who wants to offer a devil's bargain?
I think that no matter what happens, as you're falling, you and it's dark and there's bodies raining down on you. You can't really tell like which way is up for a while, and this kind of like swirling, turning motion actually gives you visions of the swirling court.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm kind of into that, actually. I can have fun with that. David, do you have an offer?
I think no matter what, there's this slime dripping down from above. I think you might manage to catch yourself on the walls, but I think you're going to start to get dripped on by this slime.
I'm going to second Alicia's.
I love the visions one.
All right, you've got 2 light dice and 1 dark die. Go for it. That is a 6 dark. You succeed. You do not go splat. Your ruin goes up for obvious reasons. You probably just land really hard, right? Do you want to narrate the visions, or do you want me to?
I think it'd be better if you did.
Okay. Tell me a little bit more about the swirling court.
I think it's a court that kind of fashions itself. It's a mortal mostly thing, but I think it fashions itself as a fey court kind of thing. So there's a lot of status going on in there. Like even once you gain entry, there's like some kind of hierarchy. They the entrance, I think, I'm not sure if I've mentioned it before, but is both you have to be very learned and very rich, which is why she needs the money.
I think you have a vision as you are kind of spinning and twirling around, trying to get some purchase with your daggers on the walls. It's like you are in the grand ballroom at the swirling court, or at least as you've imagined it. Whether you've been there or not, who knows? But I think that you are you're like center stage, and you're being almost like kind of twirled and tossed over to the next dancer, right? And some people in the swirling court actually look like those fey court nobles from the Rhyme Palace. Like your various like dance partners are kind of changing, and it's all just a blur of just people you've met in recent months. Maybe even like Nevin and Osto and what's her face who killed her husband. I don't remember her name. And various other people, right? And you actually find yourself dancing inside the coils of the Starlight Serpent as it sort of like creates a sort of spiral around you. And you realize that you're dancing with the serpent. And the serpent whispers to you, bring the markings, the symbols of Palu Navegthi to the observatory. But then describe how you survive once you snap out of it.
I actually think part of her surviving is because of the visions, because she sees herself kind of dancing. So she's making similar twirling motions as she's catching herself and then releasing, catching herself again, avoiding the bodies. And I think she kind of just, the last bit, she just kind of falls.
We'll talk about where it drops you later. Osto and Nevin, for all you know, Esfahan's plummeted to her death. So you're there. Let's have a gold roll. Somebody do Osto, you can do a gold 8 real quick just to see if you got any treasure off these guys.
Okay.
We
Gold
need
8.
it.
We sure do.
1. It's not nothing.
I should just never roll gold. I always roll very poorly.
You can scrape up enough silver from them to equal 1 gold. Whoever wants to keep it can mark it.
I'll add it for now, but Osto's the kind to redistribute for sure. So,
well, let's just have the scene with the 2 of you there at the top.
because of Esfahan and I's connection, could I make the argument that Osto knows that Esfahan isn't dead yet?
Oh, because of the spectral bowl thing?
Hmm.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, you can definitely pick up on that. Yeah. Esfahan, how would you like make that known?
So we've kind of established that the connection is open due to magic. And I think when she was having all those visions and stuff, she kind of was either under the effect of or using some ambient magic. And that kind of just,
Yeah. Well, Osto, you have your answer. You know, Esfahan's alive.
So
I
think
feel like
he's
I don't yet, so I'm just like yelling down the hall, Esfahan! Esfahan! I think she might be dead.
Osto's like breathing heavily after this fight, and he like turns around to start trudging back up to go and collect his. I think first, I don't know how we scrounged the gold off these bodies because we did kick them all down the hole. Maybe it was left on like the body with where the hand was from or something.
It just happened to
But
fly out of their pockets as
we hit them so hard the money flew out.
They may have just had like,
It's
their
a Sonic
stuff,
game.
like maybe they left their stuff, back
Yeah.
as well, right? So
But I think he like starts like trudging back up to the mouth of the tunnel to go and collect his things, and he's like, oh, "Do not worry for now, Nevin. Esfahan is alive. I can feel our connection, but we must rejoin her as soon as possible. I do not know what is down there, but given everything we have seen so far," he's like, gets his cudgel, puts it in his hands. "I fear the worst."
Nevin, since you were making a fair amount of noise, well, this whole scene was pretty noisy, I think. You all hear, or the two of you hear above you, a voice in the shadows. Hello? Is there someone down there? Hello?
I think Osto locks eyes with Nevin and like looks up in a do we dare trust another person sort of look.
I feel like I was actually like mid about to respond, and like you
Okay.
looking at me makes me like, I'm gonna
Osto-
whisper, they
Osto
can't
shrugs.
all be bad, right?
I think Osto shrugs and just gestures for you to answer. Finishes
Hello?
collecting his things.
Yes, hello. I have you are you a part of those fellows that were there before? You sound different.
No, we killed them. Are you like a tree or a root or something?
Oh, no. My name is Deacon. I well, I'm hiding.
From what?
And here, if you shine your candles up, you will notice that past some kind of, past these sort of like sickly black hanging vines, there's a little shaft, there's a little hole up in the ceiling. He says, well, I got separated from the group I came with, and I found myself here.
That's a weird place to end up.
I have a rope. Perhaps, well, if you want to come up.
I think you should come down.
Oh, all right. But, well, okay. And he drops the rope down. And you do see him kind of poke out of the hole. He is not a very remarkable looking person, just a regular adventuring clothes, kind of middle-aged man. He says, I can come down briefly, but I need to come back up. There's something here that I'm trying to reach. Perhaps you could help me.
We will discuss it when you come down.
He does come down. He says, "Ah, good. Hello, I'm Deacon." He puts his hand out. I thought I heard another voice.
Oh,
No, I'm gonna lie. Don't lie. No.
He'll buy it. He says, well, now that we've all met, I am currently trying to work my way through a very, very narrow tunnel that is up above. And well, with your help, I might be able to do so and reach what's on the other side.
What is on the other side?
Well, I don't know exactly, but I've been down here for a little bit now. I have sort of lost track of time, truth be told. But I have slept, and I have dreamed. I have dreamed there is something on the other side of this tunnel. Something wonderful. I know it. I can feel it. It's calling out to me.
Hmm. Can I see if this guy has fungus on him?
Oh. At a glance, there's no telltale signs, but you can do a hunt roll.
Okay.
How might you be trying to get a closer look?
I think I'm just gonna stride up really confidently, like when I go to shake his hand, so that I get like a good look. I myself am currently white fungus infectioned, so
since you both have that,
something?
yeah. Since you have that condition, I'll just tell you, no, you don't sense it on him. But I will tell you, he keeps looking at Osto's widening rash. That might just be a normal response to things, but he seems very interested in it.
I'm sure you understand that my brother and I don't make it a habit to crawl into tiny holes with strangers.
And he says, oh, of course. I wouldn't want to suggest otherwise. Your brothers.
Can you not tell? We're clearly twins.
It is very dark.
Even though we're fraternal twins, I'm convinced that we look the same.
He says, oh, yes, now that you mention it, I see what you mean. So, brothers, very interesting. Do you have other family members back home, or is it just the two of you?
Nevin and I have been on our own together for some time, but I don't see how our family that may or may not exist back home is relevant
Well,
here.
it's just that when you go crawling around in the deep places of the world, sometimes you don't come back. And I wonder if the people back home that I left behind would miss me if something happened to me. Would someone miss you? Something happened to you?
My brother and I are actually princes of a neighboring kingdom, and there is a whole retinue of staff and people who would miss our disappearance.
Also, goat.
Also, goat.
Yes, well, well, I would certainly appreciate your help. You both look like very, very strong fellows. I'm going to go back up now, and I shall leave the rope down in case you want to help me. I will be happy to split with you a share of whatever spoils are on the other side.
Okay, you go on up then.
he's inching his way back up.
I'm gonna lean to Osto and whisper, I know I don't normally say this, but I think we should murder that man.
He is not provoking trust.
I find his questions about our family very suspicious.
I was thinking, Esfahan, Kavi put in the chat, steal the rope to replace Ostos. I was thinking about doing that because Osto would like some rope. Our alternative, though, is to go down the mouth of this thing, which I don't think is going to be a pleasant fall. I say any openings, any paths, he can go first. And if the time comes that his sudden but inevitable betrayal, we deal with him then.
Are you
Just
going up the rope?
ready for stabbing. Yeah, I think we are. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's check in with Esfahan. Esfahan, you are in a place. It's actually like a little forest. There's lots of thick foliage and twisted beech trees down here in this cave, somehow growing without sunlight. And their trunks are covered in a white fuzz, and the air is thick with pollen and spores. What do you do when you realize that you're down here with quite a lot of fungal infection?
I think her first thing is to kind of pull her cloak to kind of cover her and then kind of hold a sleeve up to prevent breathing it in.
Very good. On the ground in the center of this chamber, there is an enormous stone altar. And this altar has holes worked in the stone, much like the obelisk on the surface, except there's a lot of them. These holes in interesting positions. You might even say it's almost a constellation of holes worked into the altar stone.
So earlier I was told to bring the symbols here to the observatory. Can I try to suss out if this is actually a constellation?
I think between that and the vision of the Starlight Serpent talking to you about bringing the symbol or bringing the symbols of Palinavegthi to the observatory, aka the giant astrolabe, yes, this is a night sky.
She's going to do her level best to commit it to memory, but otherwise not touch it.
You can be, I think, short of writing it down, I don't think you're gonna be able to commit it to memory. If you have some kind of paper or parchment, you can write it down. But
I have a deck of cards. Can I just use one of my knives and scratch it into
sure,
a card?
yeah, you can do that. That's fine. That'll take a bit while you're doing that. Back up in having climbed this rope. You're in a very, very tiny, cramped little space. I mean, it's very small, and it's just all roots and exposed rock, and a kind of narrow, I would say, like maybe 1.5 feet opening into a tunnel that this fellow Deacon has been trying to get inside. You're all just crammed in there. In fact, if you intend to do any kind of work on this tunnel, at least one of you is going to have to leave, or you're not going to have any room to move around. So Deacon says, well, here it is. I know that there's something here, something of great import and hopefully of great value.
Well, we have the tools to. As he says that, he realizes that probably the tools went over the lip with Esfahan. So he's got his hammer, which,
Could work.
It's a smithing hammer. Could be used to break up some of the rock and make some space, but we have some tools to be used for this. There's not much space to work up here, though. How about Nevin and I are both strong. Perhaps you descend back down the rope, we conduct our work, and go from there.
He says, all right, all right. And he goes back down. And you can take the time to work the hole bigger. No problem.
I think Osto will ask Nevin, should we cut the rope?
I think we should pull it up with us, actually, not cut it. Then it would fall down to him. We lose the rope. We stuck up here. We pull it.
Do you pull it?
Yes.
After a moment, he's like, hey, what are you doing? That's my rope.
I'm going to stick my head back out the hall and be like, please understand, we're not trying to cheat you. We're just trying to keep ourselves safe. We will put the rope back when you can no longer sneak in and stab us in the back.
He says, I assure you, I have no intention of any sort of skullduggery or subterfuge. I merely want to see what's on the other side of that tunnel.
I am certain that you don't, but please understand that we have many bad experiences, and we will return to you shortly. And I'm just gonna pull back.
Very good. You can work that hole a little bit, and let's see. Yeah, you can work the hole a little bit. And while you're doing that, you hear him say, oh, look what I found down there.
I think that might be a trap.
I am similarly suspicious of it.
He says, I found another passage.
Well, I mean, we assumed there was another way out. That is not surprising.
I think we should continue widening this tunnel.
I think so too.
He says, ooh.
Pay him no heed.
Well, I wonder where this goes. Probably to some fabulous treasure, no doubt.
Osto,
We just keep digging and ignoring him.
puts a hand on Nevin's shoulder. The fabulous treasure is the family we made along the way.
Esfahan, you are down in this chamber. You are doing your best to make note of the pattern on the altar. You start to hear a rattling nearby. Clink, 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 clink. What do you do?
I think she starts to speed up the markings, and she's looking around to see if she can either see it, whatever's making the noise, or see an exit that's not straight up.
A collection of vines is operating a skeleton like a marionette. The skeleton has a dagger in its hands that the vines have secured to it, and they are moving the skeleton like a marionette, and it's sort of awkwardly clattering toward you. It's unclear what its intentions are. It doesn't look promising, though. What do you do?
I think she's gonna look straight at the vines, not the skeleton, and say, I thought we had an agreement.
And it'll stop. But the skeleton's just there standing, looming and looking at you. It's almost like looking at what you're doing, like it's watching you.
Can I briefly ignore the skeleton as best I can and just move away from the altar and
Yeah, you
just kind
can.
of scout the rest of the room?
Yeah, you can. Go ahead and do a hunt roll.
I have got specialization in darkness. Does that count?
I'll take it, yeah, since it is a dark space.
That's 4.
Take your token, and you encounter something terrible. The terrible thing you encounter is that you can see that the vines have a whole little platoon of skeleton marionettes that are armed, that they're not doing anything yet, but they're clearly ready to react to something. As for what else you might see, you also see a fair amount actually, no, that's it. That's all you see.
I think she's going to go back to where there was only one skeleton, and she's going to say, is there something you can tell me in so much about this constellation? I was, well, told that it might take me somewhere if used right.
The make another hunt roll.
Yeah. That's just a 3.
The vines begin operating the skull, moving the jaw up and down, and a sound like speech comes out. We will not let the infected spill their blood here.
That is well and good. I do not think anyone intends to spill blood here, pointedly ignoring the dead bodies. Is there a way I can leave this place before I accidentally nick myself on something?
The vines move the skeletal hand and manipulate it to point, and you see that there is a sort of white flecked moss covering a passage.
She's gonna curtsy to the skeleton, never hurts to be polite, and say thank you, and she's going to slowly begin moving there, see if it reacts.
Osto and Nevin, you manage to widen the tunnel. Do you follow it?
I mean, we put in all this work.
Ooh, look what I found. My. Is that a glimmering I see?
Just to get further away from Deacon's voice, I think we start heading down the tunnel.
The tunnel is it's fairly steep as well, but you can safely get yourself down there with a little bit of, if you take your time. Esfahan, the passage that you're in actually goes up, and it has rough-hewn stone steps that go up. You can actually climb them. Do you?
She's gonna keep a knife out just in case, but yeah.
As you get higher up, you can hear Osto and Nevin. The three of you are converging on the same place. Osto and Nevin, you are above a space that is bare earth walls studded with cloudy white crystals that have a dim glow and indeed illuminate the space. There is a pool of clear water sort of reflecting that light, making it even more illuminated. And you also see the little arch with the stairs. And if you wait long enough, you'll see Esfahan come up. And Esfahan, you see this. You might even look up and see Osto and Nevin kind of up above the space. What do you all do?
Do those crystals look valuable?
Yeah, probably if you can wedge a few out.
Then I would like to wedge some out if I can.
Yeah, as long as getting into the space, you all have ropes, so you can tie it off and drop down to the space, no trouble. And you're in this pool, or you're in this space where there's a pool kind of central in the room. Osto, you can get down there as well. What's everyone doing at this point? Let's just have the scene with the three of you there.
Osto drops down. He hears footfalls on the stairs. Sort of like starts lifting the cudgel. Sees like the top of Esfahan's head and like slowly lowers the cudgel. There's turns like as Nevin's falling down to the room too. There are stairs. It's much better than drop straight down to our deaths.
So much better.
Also, no annoying man who wants to murder her. We met an annoying man. He definitely wanted to kill us.
Oh, did you kill him?
No, we stole his tunnel and his rope.
We should take care of him before we leave.
I suppose. Before that, this water looks quite nice. I think Osto's kind of interested. He knows he's been drawn here by the rash, right? And he knows that something was pulling him here. If this water looks drinkable, this space feels kind of special and magical. I think he might just drink some of this water.
Sure. You drink the water. And you have a vision. You have a vision of, it feels like you are connected to the space. It's as if your flesh is the earth and that your veins are pulsing blood, not just in your body, but throughout these cave walls. You are red and wet and hot, and you want to open. You want to eat. You want to invite the world inside you. You know your destiny lies where Esfahan just came from.
He, after bringing his hands to his mouth, drinking some of this water, he steps back a little bit off footing for a second as he has this visual experience. And then as his vision clears and he once again sees the people in the room with him, he takes a step towards the stairs, towards Esfahan, and points down. What is down there?
I believe it's an altar to a forgotten god, and trees, and fungus, and many, many armed skeletons.
I have been called here by, he like puts his hand on the rash, by this. I need to see what is down there for myself.
Yes, and I will go with you, but first, can you just tell me how to get these crystals out of the wall? That's like your
Oh.
job.
Yeah. So you take the hammer. Esfahan, do you still have the tools with you, the bag?
Oh, yes, I do. Here.
He'll take a chisel piece and okay, so you take hammer, you get right here in the fissure where the crystal joins the rock, and
I think if you all want to spend hunt roll tokens, you can take as many glowing rocks as you wish. 1 gold per token spent.
I don't have any hunt roll tokens.
You can have one. You can have one freebie.
I'm gonna save my hunt tokens.
I'm gonna spend all of mine. I'm gonna get 3 gold from that. Or total. I already had 1 gold.
Esfand, while they're taking the time to chisel away glowing rocks, what are you doing?
I think she goes to the water and she she doesn't drink it because she has some belief in safety left, but she is kind of cupping some and bringing it up to kind of wash the nicks and cuts that she has.
That's good. You can clear that condition. Okay, so you've managed to get some of the stones intact enough to where they'll be valuable, have some value back home. And there are those stairs and that compulsion, Osto.
Osto's going down.
Nevany going down.
Yeah, I'll follow him.
Esfahan?
God damn it, I just got out of there. But she goes.
I'm just gonna remind Esfahan that way, the way we came, lies Deacon, who I don't think is any better.
We'll see.
Osto, as soon as you step into the chamber that has a little miniature beech forest and little puffs of white spore and quite a lot of vines and things on the walls, as soon as you both step inside, the marionette skeletons all stand up. There's about a dozen making a circle around the altar, and they have various rusty weapons pulled out.
It's okay. I am friends with the trees, and also we are covered in fungus.
The skeletons, they manipulate the skeletons' mouths to make a sort of hissing, chattering sound that indicates the beech trees have gone mad.
I don't think they're happy that we're friends with the trees.
Or perhaps not happy that we have some of the spores?
Can I call out just in general to them and say they're not here to spill their blood?
Osto, yes, you can. Upon Esfahan saying that, you now know what you have to do to open up and eat.
Oh no.
You can try to resist it, but it'll be a pretty tough risk roll.
I think until he was not called here by his god. And so he was called here by what he feels, at the very least, is a god. And so, like, you pay attention to that sort of stuff. But I think until Osto knows, we've been to some fun places at this point. Use fun in a loose term here. We've seen some things, and I think he's gonna have a little bit of self-preservation, but also just like sensibility that like not every time a god asks you to do something, you should do it. Now, obviously, his mission from his god is very important and should be done, but not every god has your best interest in mind. So he'll, at least for now, try to resist it until he understands what it does, like what the purpose of it is.
I think it's a risk roll. I think that because of the white fungal infection, it'll be a 2 dark die risk roll. And I think that the stakes are you will spill your blood on the altar if you don't resist it. Do you have a relevant skill or piece of equipment to get that first light die?
I think endurance would give me the first light. Like I'm capable of resisting these sorts of things.
Devil's bargains. Kavya, Alicia, any offers?
I think no matter what, Deacon's gonna pop up in this fucking room.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, Deacon. I second Deacon.
No, I don't have anything.
Okay, let's take Deacon. Why not? Bring him back. Bring back the Deek.
2 light, 2 dark. Go for it.
Oh my goodness. All right. This is one of those moments where I really wish I could shake the dice, but just to get the confidence. But let's go for it. Hey, look
6
at that.
light.
That's a 6 light.
Very good. You resist. What does it look like?
I think Osto, like his arm, where the rash is more predominant, like on that shoulder, on that side, his arm just starts raising and reaching out. And like I think maybe he even like starts to take a step forward, and he like kind of looks at it, and it is not happening under his own volition. Like it's an involuntary action, and he like swats at his hand, and pulls his arm back to his side, and takes a few deep breaths. I think I very much would like to spill my blood on the altar, and I'm starting to gather that may not be the best decision. There might be some other influences going on with this. Esfahan, you are our resident expert. What will happen were somebody to spill their blood on the altar?
I think it would awaken something old and hungry, and we would all die.
What if someone spilled someone else's blood on the altar?
I think as long as it's infected blood, it'll work.
Cease this prattle. You are unworthy of what is to take place here. Deacon, who knows how he got here, steps out from the beech tree. His face is smeared with the white spore. He says, I have taken the blessing into my body, and I can feel it inside of me. I can feel myself becoming an adequate medium for the awakening. And he steps onto the stone altar. He has a knife in his hand. And he says, the 3 of you, though you are entirely unworthy, will witness the great awakening of Palu Nefekthi.
I kind of want Osto to turn to Nevin and say, axe.
But then we're gonna spill the blood, right?
Yeah,
we can't
no.
spill any blood.
But
So
if you knock him back with it though, like I imagine
What
you
about
have
the
to like
bull?
sort of like intentionally cut it.
I
over
was
the-
thinking of just lunging at him.
Okay.
Just
Well, there's the skeletons around him though, right? Because the skeletons are by the altar, aren't they?
Right. So here's the trouble. The skeletons are moving in because they are trying to stop this thing from happening.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Okay, door ritual. Open the door, reach through and grab him, like back through it.
And
Nice.
hopefully lose him in the interim.
Yeah, if he just gets lost in the void somewhere, that's not my problem.
I love it. The stakes are he completes the ritual or not, essentially.
Yeah.
Do you have a relevant skill?
Strength?
Oh, to like once you actually get the door behind him to pull him in. I'll take it. Yeah. Kavya, you can make the devil's bargain.
I think no matter what, the skeletons will see our interfering as not helping but hurting.
Yeah, they get confused about what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take that. I think we can deal with that better than ending the world and our lives.
2 light, 1 dark. Go for it. I want to take a look at your conditions too. I think because of the white fungus infection, you are subtly you're actually subtly like on board with this happening, and that's affecting your reactions here. So do it with 2 dark. 5 light, you succeed. The complication is just going to be that for the first round of the combat with the skeletons, you won't be there. It'll just be Kavya and Esfahan and Osta. But go ahead and describe how you at least stop the ritual.
Yeah, so I think that I've done the door a few times now, so I feel like I used to need like an actual like physical surface to make the door, but now I can just like make the shape of a door with my hand and it like portalizes basically. And I don't know, there's some mind control thing going on. I feel like I know where if I visualize where the other side of the door is, that's sort of where it takes me to. So I just like whoop, portal through to like where he is, and I just reach through and yank him.
I love it.
Through me. Yeah.
The vines are just like, I think they're just like kill. Like they don't really know what's going on. I don't think they care. And this little squad of marionette skeletons, they are attacking. Nevin's not around right at this moment, and so for the first part, it is an endurance 10 with 2 combat dice to start. Osto, say how you're vulnerable and roll a weak point.
I think Osto, half of his body is not cooperating. I think Osto desperately wants to either let this person spill their blood or to spill his own blood. And so half of his body wants to spill blood here.
Yeah. I am going to say, go ahead and roll your weak point.
Right. Oop.
Let's see what it is.
I really wish that.
It's a 5.
Another high weak point, 5.
Esfahan, there's a particular danger to Osto being in this combat, because if the skeletons inadvertently spill Osto's blood on the altar, it might complete the ritual. And so in order to prevent that, you have to be extra defensive. And so you're taking 2 weak points.
Fine.
So go ahead and roll them. 5 and 1. Let's take a 5-minute break. We'll come back into that combat. Now, I think we should point out before this combat starts that Esfahan, you are at ruin 5, and you have an armor, so you can absorb a big hit if it comes down, or any hit if it comes down to it. But you might have to bail on the combat at a certain point. Let's see how this goes. This is a combat 2. Osto, you can kick off. And it's an endurance 10.
Okay. So what's the roll?
Combat 2.
Combat 2.
Looking for 10 total. 6 and a 1 is not enough, but it does hit Espen's weak point. Espen, I assume you're going to block that.
For no reason particular, yeah.
Yeah. Let's start it. Osto, what does it look like? You've got marionette skeletons coming for you.
Yeah, I think Osto's kind of like dragging his right half, but he's got his cudgel in his left hand, and I don't think these skeletons are particularly strong in the sense that like they're just brittle old bones. So I think he like swings his cudgel through the bottom half of one, but it doesn't really do anything because like yeah, the legs detach, but the thing's on like vine marionette, so the top half still like is swinging its sword, and he has to like try to dodge backwards. But so far unsuccessful in dealing any meaningful blows to these.
Espen, keep it going.
I think Esfahan sees this happen and realizes that she might just have to go for the vines. So I think she takes out a knife and instead of throwing it, because if she throws it, she's going to lose it for a bit. She's actually going straight in and trying to slice something, but she's not too used to close combat. So as she tries to do that, one of the skeletons tries to stab her, and her amulet of protection not amulet of protection. I forget which one I marked just now. Yeah, the amulet of protection glows for a second, and then the knife is deflected and it just goes completely dim.
The second round of combat would be a combat 4 because Nevin joins plus 1 more. And Esfahan, you can bail, but you have to give your weak points to the other characters.
I would very much like to bail.
So who's getting the 1 and who's getting the 5, or are they both going to one person?
I already have the 5, so
Yeah,
I can't take it.
No, well, you'll have to just roll another thing. So
okay.
Yeah.
I can take both. I'll take 3 weak points.
So a 5, a 1, and what's the third one? A 4.
4.
I could have totally taken at least 1 weak point.
Well, you're joining the fight, so don't you?
You are joining the fight, so you do have to roll one though.
Oh,
how are
yes,
you vulnerable?
yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I'm vulnerable because I don't actually know what's been going on. I've been so focused on what.
Where is Deacon too? What'd you do with him?
So I feel like he's dead. If we're okay with that.
Sure, yeah.
My weak point is 6. I feel like I pulled him through, and then we can't risk him being alive and trying that again, but we can't spill his blood, so I think I strangled him or like broke his neck. Yeah.
That's good. All right.
And then tossed the body away from the altar.
Nevin, you can do the combat roll. It's a combat 4. The danger numbers are 5, 6, 4, and 1. 2 6s, a 2, and a 3. So the hits are on Nevin. So that's as long as you have armor, you're good to go.
I do. Yeah, I do.
And the skeletons are defeated. First of all, Esfahan, please describe your cowardice.
Esfahan looks at the ginormous amount of skeletonness that they have to fight, and she looks at her knife and her other 2 knives, and I think she just books it. Like, I'll see you guys back up there.
Sounds good. You can head right up the stairs and keep it going, Osto.
Yeah, I think Osto is still going to be careful not to damage the vines. He just wants to destroy what they're operating. So I think he's like, okay, well, I can break the skeletons if I try hard enough. I just need to break them more. And so he just like one by one, starting at the top this time instead of the bottom, he's just like crushing bone. And I think he's like at this point sort of wrested control enough of his body back that he's like just 2 hands with the cudgel and yeah, like whack-a-mole, just busting skeleton heads.
And Nevin, finish it off.
Yeah, I think I'm also on team not hurting the vines. So I grab some vines and I grab some vines that have skeletons attached and then start bashing them together so the skeletons just destroy each other.
I love it. Osto, go ahead and roll a gold 10.
Somebody else rolled the gold 10. I know
I'll roll the gold 10. I got it.
Hey, not bad. 3 gold. So I think each of these gold is just going to be like you'll be able to find like 3 swords that they had that are like can be de-rusted enough to be valuable to sell. So whoever, you can each take one or however you want to divide them up, but that's what you got.
I mean, I think they're yours, Nevin. You need gold more than I do.
Yeah,
at this point.
I have no, like, no, I think I got the one now.
So you're
Swords for me.
You're collecting swords. Osto, what are you doing in the meantime?
I kind of just want to take my blacksmith's hammer. I want to like invoke my strength of bull, do my yoke ritual, and I just want to break this altar.
Esfahan, before Osto gets around to breaking the altar, I will tell you that you can sell knowledge of the ritual and the existence of the altar to certain unsavory types who would like to know about such things. They will, of course, want to confirm the existence of the altar before they proffer payment. But once it's done, it would be quite valuable, probably to the tune of, I would say, 3 gold in game terms. It's a lot of silver.
Like, she goes, also, wait. If you,
He's like walking forwards, like, what?
I don't know if you noticed, but we haven't scavenged much in terms of profit. Instead of outright destroying it, what if instead you just add a little hole? Just one hole.
Add the little hole.
It'll disrupt the constellation.
Oh, okay. So Esfahan's proposal is that we tell people about it, but we render it.
But
so
you
it doesn't
but you
actually
render
work.
it, you mess it up. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Osto has the skills necessary to just make a hole if he just needs to make a hole. I probably will need to do a risk roll of some type though, because I do still have this spores inside of me, and I'm going up to the altar. I'm assuming that there's a bit of a pull to.
No, I think it's okay. You can
Okay.
resist. You've already rolled once to resist it,
Okay.
so you can.
Then
maintain
yeah,
that.
he'll go forward. He still has the chisel tool from earlier, and he'll just make a hole, make another hole.
Very good. And you'll eventually be able to work your way back up. You can dodge the slime if it's still up there. Who knows? But it's not relevant now. And that will conclude Feast. There are, I guess, there are technically a few more hexes you could go search, but I don't think it really matters at this point. You've done the important parts.
I mean, some of us don't have enough gold yet, though.
So that's
Just
the thing.
saying.
You don't have to go back to town. You can stay out in the wilderness until you have earned enough.
Does
means
Esfahan
that-
exchange some of her hunt tokens for gold? Because you also
I
have
think
no
I think I have
gold
to
for
exchange
it.
all of them. So the 5 from hunt tokens, and then
Oh, you have
from
a lot
the
of hunt
information.
tokens.
Oh, you have some
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, that would be like
Yeah.
8. I mean, it's a lot of money actually if you cash all that in.
Well, you also have Amanya's work, which might be worth something.
Yeah, what is the deal with Amanya's work?
Remind me what that is.
He was
the
the
lady
one
in
it's
the
all of her.
hut.
Oh, it's all. Yeah. I think like if you sell all that stuff in conjunction with the knowledge that you're going to, yeah, I think that's all kind of all part and parcel of the same thing. So it's separate values, but yeah, it's all just like essentially like just telling some like cults and other like sorceress types who might want to know that this is here, that it's here, basically.
Does that mean that yet again I'm the only one who can't meet my fucking burdens?
Well, unless your friends help you out.
See, yeah,
I
like
only
once I've
need
met my
one
burdens, you
gold,
can have.
so-
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're never stashing much away.
Well, that's so frustrating. I feel like I find stuff. I'm constantly looking for stuff, and then somehow I end up never getting the stuff.
So are you going back to town then, or are we gonna stay out in the wilderness a little longer?
I mean, the dangerous thing out in the wilderness is that, Esfahan's ruin is
It's
really,
gonna die.
really high. Yeah. So if someone gives me 1 gold, I'm happy to go back to town.
You can have it, man.
Very
You
good.
can have one of them.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, that's good. I think we will save our hearth fire for next time. Everyone go ahead and we'll just do it the next time we meet. But that concludes Feast. Let's go ahead and do stars and wishes. Who would like to start?
I wish I found the bear. Nevin really wanted to make friends with that bear.
There are more bears in the woods.
But it'll never be that bear.
It's almost certainly some like white fungus infected horror by now. It's like that movie Annihilation, right? It's I had a great time. I thought this was really fun. I liked the this adventure is really interesting because it has some things that are very well defined and other things that are very like, just sort of make it work in whatever your story's going for. And that actually works really well in Trophy Gold. Like, I think that the Trophy Gold mechanics where we have to kind of fill in some of the fiction as a play group worked really nicely with this adventure. They synced up really, really well. So I had a really good time with that. It felt very, very dungeon crawly, which I liked. I enjoyed that a lot. And I enjoyed seeing everyone kind of using their equipment and using their smarts and skills and intuition to like navigate the space. I thought that was really great. And it felt very classically dungeon crawl to me in that way. And so I appreciated that a lot. My wish is I really think it would have been interesting to complete the ritual to see what would happen. I don't know if your characters would have survived, but it would have been interesting to see. And yeah, that's all I got to say for now.
Star for super annoying Deacon and just being like really committed to that bit. I just thought that was so funny.
He actually did find another space, though. That's the thing. There's Chamber 4 on the map. That's what he found.
Yeah, I assume that's what he did find, but I also was like, no, this guy, no.
Well, it was extra funny because I'd even like looked at the map and I'm like, there's no other chamber. And then like later I was like, oh no, there was another chamber. We just totally wrote him off.
You shouldn't have been so annoying.
Yeah. Oh, I think like I just want to second that star because like I feel like in the course of this, Trophy Gold campaign, we always meet people. It's very trophy, like who are not terribly trustworthy, and like we always have to make a decision of like whether or not we're going to trust them at all for now. Plan a betrayal, like what we're gonna do. And Deacon was one where like right off the bat we're just like, oh no, not this guy, no, never. And it's fun.
Yeah, and I love that because of everyone keeps being not trustworthy because it's trophy. The further we get, you have that meta game of being like, they're all terrible. Which also feels like eventually there's going to be a boy who cries wolf situation, and we're going to end up with an NPC that we definitely should not murder, that we do.
Yeah, I feel like it's inevitably like any kind of characters who would be in situations like this are probably untrustworthy, right? Yeah. The good people don't go to places like this,
And what does that say of us?
Yeah, exactly.
I also I think star for our little group. I feel like we've really found like a cohesion as like a little adventuring group, and I really like that.
Yeah, Kavya.
No, definite star for the contrast between Amanya and Deacon, because Amanya I immediately wanted to trust, even though it was a horrible idea. I heard of Deacon and just immediately
knew.
There's something about him that just touches that very pinpoint of rage. I wish, well, two wishes. One is I wish we could have found out what that black dripping stuff was, because what the hell? And I wish I could have one campaign where I'm not spending half of it with Ruin 5.
You go to Ruin 5 really fast a lot, yeah.
Yeah, and I want to blame it on just like you having slightly higher starting ruin, but your starting ruin's the same as Nevin.
It was not the problem.
Yeah, I think part of it is Esfahan. You often like lead in one way or another. You end up going off either on your own or to like go and investigate things.
It's because you go off on your own. I think that's
Yeah.
a lot, whether you intend to or not. I think that's a big part of that. Yeah.
Which
Is
I'm
great.
gonna have her
It's
tie
great.
herself to someone.
Yeah, I think it's great. I love it. But yeah, it does like, I mean, you know, when you push in, that's what happens. So yeah.
It pushes back.
I just wanted to also throw a star out there just for us getting split up, but then still like relying on each other. And I really like the Star Bowl condition and how that has grown and evolved. And I still look forward to more of that in the future. I think that's definitely one of my wishes, is to like continue to see that explored. And also now we're starting to build out, I think, a little bit the trophy pantheon, and like we keep brushing close to certainly some dark god stuff, but just some sort of general god and the cosmos stuff. And so I'm excited for when we do eventually revisit the astrolabe, what might result.
I think we should do it next week. I mean, I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Or whenever we're Kavya won't be here next week, so we'll do the Forbidden Archives. We'll wrap that up from last time. But whenever we're all together again, I think that will be pretty fun to go back to the temple, return to the Temple of the Fearless Star. I think that'll be a lot of fun, because there's a lot there that you all didn't do. Like you kind of did about half that dungeon, so that'll be fun.
I also, much to maybe setting myself up for danger, would like to remind people that at some point in time, Osto has to sacrifice that which is most precious to him, which we established is probably me.
Yeah.
So I really love, and I don't want that to happen like too quickly, because I love Nevin, but also I really love like that, like just developing the relationship further and further till whenever that's gonna go down.
Yeah.
I hope we get to see more. Like, I actually kind of really enjoy this because we're also seeing this like further deepening of this like relationship between Esfahan and Osto as well. And I kind of would love it, like, if that's kind of where the story goes, like if it becomes like, you know, this sort of like this sort of like love between brothers, but then this like sort of burgeoning like kind of relationship between Esfahan and Osto, whatever that is, like, and how it like, and if there is like some sort of like big decision that has to be made at some point. I have no idea what this looks like, but I could just see, I think it'd be cool though, like if that's sort of where the story goes, you know, that we could really neat. So but yeah. Any other stars or wishes?
Just that the moment we saw the hole, and then again when we saw the altar, the first thing I thought of was, oh no, Osto's gonna.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Star for I would say star for you leaning into that, right? Because you leaning into like when you drank the water. I mean, I just told you how you were feeling, and I like that you kind of leaned into that and role played that, you know. You could have like tried to resist it right then, but instead you played it out to like the sort of terminal point and then resisted. And I thought that was really fun. So
yeah, I thought it was really fun to have the external motivation sort of foisted on in the beginning, for then like why Osto is driven to be there, and like how that just fit into his character as like he is someone who kind of is easily led, and like wants purpose. So like to be given a purpose is like a good thing to him. And so it's like only at the very end that he's like, wait a minute, should I actually be doing this? Is this a good idea?
Right. Yeah.
So
I also like
fun.
as another star, just because I think it's kind of funny. Like we've seen the characters Nevin and Osto in the past. We've seen them like do this like combat move where they grab a couple people and like smash them together, you know. And we got that today too, but it was like two skeletons and you're smashing them together. But it was because you were trying to protect the vines, which I thought was really interesting too. Like, so there was a lot of like interesting like little kind of echoes of you know, kind of like how the characters like in the past have done things, but then this sort of like added layer in this scene, which I thought was really great. So I enjoyed that a lot. Okay, well, there are no other stars or wishes. Oh, go ahead.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Rather ironically, I have forgotten what the Crown of Forget does.
Where did it come from?
That was from the Rhyme Palace, I think.
Yes,
that was the crown
something
from
throne.
I'd have to go back and look. I don't remember off the top of my head what it does, but
were we smart and did we put it in records? No.
No.
We haven't
We
been
should
naming the
do
monsters
that.
either. We're supposed to be naming monsters and putting them in the bestiary, but it's okay. Maybe we'll go back and have a monster naming
The
game.
only I love that we remembered to record the Jeremys, but nothing else.
That was the only one we got. The rest we forgot about. It's okay. Okay, well, I'll research that and we'll figure out what it is next time, because I think that I mean, you all have kind of collected a few magic items at this point too, so that's probably some stuff we should talk about when we do our little our Hearthfire sequence next time. Okay, well, let's go ahead and wave goodbye to anybody watching the video.